Lord Krishna is mystified by Radharani's love. Radha's the Mahima, the Pranaya. What is Radharani's Pranaya? How does she taste my sweetness? Krishna wants to become Radharani. So Krishna, in order to understand how Radharani feels, or what happiness she feels by serving him, or to understand the depth of her love, he can't. He's mystified. So he's bewildered by that. So then in order to do that, he has to take the position of Radharani. So Krishna becomes Radharani. And when Krishna becomes Radharani, the form that he exhibits is Chaitanya. So Chaitanya is Krishna, but in the mood of Radharani. So Krishna as Radharani is always saying, where is Krishna? So because Radharani, he wants to taste this separation from Krishna that Radharani is experiencing.
And any reason for the widened eyes that the deity depicts?
Jagannath.
Yes, Lord Jagannath. He's got these little widened eyes.
Yeah, well, there's different stories about the appearance of Jagannath, which are told in Puranas. We'll tell briefly one that accounts for this, which is the Mahabhav Prakash. I mean, there's a couple of different ones, but as I mentioned, when Krishna was in Dwarka, in the nighttime he was always crying for Radharani and separation, because he separated from Radharani. Because when he was young, he was with Radharani till he was 11 years old, and then he went to Mathura until he was 38, then from like 25 years in Mathura. Then from Mathura he went to Dwarka for like 100 years. And the Kurukshetra battle took place and all those things. So the whole time, it's like if you have some very strong impression, very strong action or activity, something very deep happens in your life, it creates a samskara in your chitta, in your consciousness. So when Lord Krishna was in Dwarka, although he is surrounded by so much fanfare, so much pomp and grandeur, 16,000 palaces, 160,000 children, right? 160,000 children, 10 children from every wife, and all this, and the the Sudharma Assembly House, and all this huge arrangement. But it didn't. All that added up to a mustard seed, compared to the Mount Meru of his loving remembrance and loving experiences, and we could say samskaras or impressions on his heart and mind that he gained by those 11 years in Vrindavan with Radharani and the gopis. So it's like, on one side you have a mustard seed, on the other side you have Mount Meru, which is like 800 yojanas high and solid gold. It's an amazing place. So then at night, when his body is in Dwarka, his queens are lying there next to him, but his mind and heart are always reaching out to Vrindavan. So he's saying, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. So one day, after so many years, the queens were so much disturbed by this, that I'm living with this Dwarkadish for 80 years, 90 years, he never once mentioned my name. The only name of any lady I've ever heard is Radhika or Gopi, 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 Radha, Radha. So they're perplexed. Who is this Radha? We heard something vaguely when he was a young boy. He was playing in a village or playing flute or something, but we never saw that. We don't know anything about that. Don't know really anything. But there's one person here in Dwarka that knows about this. That's Mother Rohini. Rohini is one of Vasudev's queens. He had 10 queens. And she was in Mathura. And then she came to Braj. And she was in Braj, and then she went back to Mathura and to Dwarka. So they asked one day, they summoned Rohini, and they said, listen, can you explain to us, who is this Radhika? Who is this Gopi, Gopi, Radhe, Radhe, Radha, Radha? And she said, yes, I can tell you, but you have to make sure that Krishna and Balaram don't come and don't hear this. So then they posted Subhadra. Subhadra is the daughter, let's say, I guess Devaki's daughter. In other words, the same night that Yashoda gave birth to Krishna and Yogamaya, or Brajendra Nanda and Krishna, Yashoda Nanda and Krishna, that same night on Janmashtami, Devaki gave birth to Vasudeva Krishna. This is what our chart, and she gave birth to Vasudeva Krishna and Subhadra. At any rate, Subhadra is the daughter of Vasudeva and either Devaki or Rohini, one of his other wives. So now this Subhadra was in Mathura, and this Subhadra went to Dwarka, and eventually she married Arjuna, right? And Abhimanyu was the son. So Subhadra was asked, he said, Subhadra, you stay outside by the door and you guard the door and make sure Krishna and Balaram don't come. So Subhadra stood outside the door like this, of the queen's private quarters. Rohini started narrating all about Braj Lila, Julan Lila, Holi Lila, Rasa Lila, Van Vihar, Jal Keli, Vamshi Chori, and Pasha Kela, Madhupan, so many Leelas Radha and Krishna and the gopis had. And all the queens of Dwarka. Wow, really? So sweet, so intimate, so natural, so much bliss and happiness, so much nice Leela, Madhurya Leela. And they were listening with amazement. And Subhadra was outside the door eavesdropping, like any intelligent lady would naturally do. She was listening. She was all ears. Really? Because she was from Mathura, so she didn't know Braj Leela, so she was listening. Ocha, Krishna and Balaram did like this. So meanwhile, Krishna and Balaram, they were in Sudharma assembly house with King Ugrasen. Ugrasen was in charge of, he was over there in Dwarka in charge after Kansa was killed and everything went to Dwarka. So then they somehow, because they're God, Krishna and Balaram, they understood, I think someone's talking about us. I feel that that someone's talking about us, Balaram. Let's go over to Rukmini's palace. So they went there, and when they got there, Subhadra was leaning on the door like this. She had her arms like this, but she had her eyes were dilated. Her eyes were dilated, and she had this really blissful smile on her face, and she was just locked to the door, almost in a trance, listening to these leelas. And I saw Subhadra, and I said, "What's going on with our sister?" Balaram was saying. So then Krishna stood on one side of Subhadra, and Balaram got on the other side, and because she was like this. So then they put their ears to the door, and they started hearing about this Rasa Lila and all their pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. And as they heard, their eyes became bigger and bigger and bigger. It became more astonishing, more exciting, more attractive, more fulfilling and satisfying. And this big smile came. And then as they heard more and more, they became totally transformed. They just went in ecstasy, in Mahabhav. Then Krishna's arms went like this, his neck shrunk down like this, and his head squished down, and his legs came in his body. And the same thing happened to Balaram. And Subhadra, she had no arms. She lost her arms. And then Narada Muni came. Narada Muni Bhajana Vina Radhika Ramana Name. He's always in the right place at the right time. So then Narada Muni, Narayan, 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 Narada Muni, right? You see in the movies. So Narayan came, Narada Muni came, and he saw these astounding forms of Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra. Subhadra in the middle, Krishna on one side, Balaram on the other side. And then when he came, two lords came back to external consciousness, and again they came in their normal forms. And they saw Narad. They composed themselves. And Narada Muni said, "Oh, I've seen it, my Lord, I've seen it. I saw this form of yours, this extraordinary form, all three of you, transformed in ecstasy, being absorbed in Braj Lila, hearing this Braj Lila. Oh my Lord, I pray that somewhere in this universe, that you'll be worshipped in this form from time immemorial, that you will display this great form of Mahabhav, Prakash, to the universe." So then Krishna said, "Tatastu, tatastu. May it be, let it be, let it be." So this is a story. From this story, these deities manifest in Jagannath Puri. And that's why they had these big eyes. It's like two ladies are telling some story. "Oh, do you know that so-and-so's husband is going with so-and-so's wife?" And they go, "Really?" and then he says, "Oh, is there anything else?" "Well, not only that, but," and then, "Huh?" And the eyes go even bigger and bigger. So this is how Jagannath's eyes got so big. Our eyes go so big, but we're human beings, but he's God, so his eyes can go really big. So it's like this. Anything else?
How do we properly treat remnants of the Lord and saintly people, especially like flower gardens we get?
Well, according to Shastra, they say that these holy things should be very properly discarded, or whatever you say. Usually they're put in a river, a flowing river or in the ocean. It's so funny, it looks rather strange. When you go to Juhu Beach in Bombay, we have our temple over there, and you walk on the beach and people come down the beach with a plastic bag full of flowers from Ganesh Puja or something, Ganapati Puja, there's so much Ganesh Puja. Then they throw the plastic bag full of Maha flowers, remnants in this Arabian Sea, I suppose. It's called Arabian Sea over there. And then there's little waves over there, and then they just wash back up on the shore, and there's all these plastic bags of rotten flowers everywhere. So I always wonder whether that's exactly the way we're supposed to discard the flowers. I don't think it should be a plastic bag, because it'll dissolve in the ocean. You're supposed to put in a river, in the ocean, or go in the forest, and bury them, or put them under a tree. This is if there's extra food or garlands. This is the shastrically enjoined thing to do. But when you live in a big city, there's no river nearby, there's no forest, and there's no ocean, then what to do? So then the only thing one can do practically is, with a mood of reverence, you put them in some kind of plastic bag, and then you just put them in your trash can, and I don't know where they go, garbage man takes them or whatever, I don't know how you have it. Like, for example, in America we have so many temples in a city, and they have these big trucks that come around every day, and they have a big dumpster, they call it a dumpster thing, and it's a big can of garbage, and it throws in the back of a truck by some automated thing, and it squish it up. So they put all the things there because there's no choice. You can't throw it on the street. So this is a little bit of a dilemma, but it's the Lord certainly understands. The basic thing, there should be great regard, great respect. We try our best to handle these sacred things very respectfully. Oh, this garland, no, it's like, okay. Just like you have old pictures. People, they come and they throw all their some deity picture gets torn, or some old calendar of Saraswati or Durga or Krishna, then they throw it in Radhakund. And then all the chemicals from the ink printing, all the chemicals, they dissolve and poison the water in Radhakund, which is not good for the fish. And they're also devotees living there in kachua and fish. So these sacred pictures and things like that, they should actually be burned. They burned into ashes, then put the ashes on the ground or whatever. These are some difficulty to deal with these things in the modern world. But you have to use your discretion.
As you said,
It's the attitude. These are sacred things. Okay, I got this garland. They gave me a garland in the temple, and I wear it home. Now what? Basically, you have to put it somewhere. You can't. Sometimes people throw it in a tree or something like that, and then it dries up. But then neighbors don't appreciate that, and that doesn't look so good. So it basically ends up in the trash can, but it should be put inside maybe a plastic bag, and like that. Or even like sacred pictures. Like, not everyone has facility to burn you have damaged pictures and stuff in the city. So we tell people to fold the picture up, backside around, so you can't see the picture. Put in a bag, plastic bag, and seal it, so no one sees. Anyone who's dealing with the trash, some garbage truck or whatever, wherever the garbage goes, anyone who's dealing with it won't see an old picture of Krishna. You know what I'm saying? It's some covered thing. You have to be practical with sacred things, because many of our temples are in the city, so you can't go up on the roof of the apartment building, have a big bonfire with all old pictures and calendars, because you'll get the landlord will throw you out of the building. But generally you should burn these things. Sacred articles like pictures and things can be burned into ashes, or put in an ocean or river. But there's so much pollution there also with the ink and everything. It's problematic. Is that clear? It's a matter of how, it's your consciousness and your heart. So, Krishna, I don't know what to do. I have so many of these pictures. Like, I print books, and sometimes some books get damaged, get spoiled. But mice eat the covers. And the whole book is quite good, but you can't sell it because all mice ate the corner. So I have 350-page book. It's all sacred book. What to do? So then I give it to people, and they burn it, and they cook chapatis with it, offer it to their deity. The paper, they burn the paper, but then they're cooking chapatis to offer the deity. I don't want to throw it in the Yamuna, but I have 200 books, 300 books to go throw in the Yamuna, all that ink coming off the paper, polluting the Yamuna. So these are realistic things. Imagine some printer has all these old religious books.